Welcome to the Transformation for Success Television Network. And this is Dr. Barbara Young. And we're on the Empowerment Channel today. And I want to welcome you out there. And I want to thank all the listeners and all the guests in the audience for coming. We're so happy you're here today. Well, we are here today to talk about a very, very important topic. And that topic is concerning our veterans and the plight of veterans today. And with me, I have four beautiful gentlemen. They're handsome. You guys look great. I have Matt Davidson, who's here, who's a 16-year veteran of working with incarcerated and homeless veterans. And I want to thank you, but first of all, I want to thank all of the veterans and all the wives and dependents of veterans who served our country in all of its services. And we want to thank you and give grace for all of you, and thank you for serving for our country. So it's a pleasure to have you on the show today. So Matt, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
And next we have Joe Hudak. Oh my God, I love that name, Joe Hudak. You gotta remember that name, everybody out there. Well, Joe is a Green Beret, former Green Beret, and served in Afghanistan and Iraq. And we're so happy that you're back safe and sound. Thank you so much. You got a lot to share today with us. And then last but not least, we have Dave Weiner. Dave has been on my radio talk show, Transformation Success, and shared a bit of his story. Well, he is a retired military veteran of the Air Force. Got to get that right, the Air Force, we know that. And he served well, and he's been a member of the law enforcement. So that's about all I'm going to say about you right now. So you're going to share a little bit more later on.
Thank you for having me back, Dr. V.
Because we have quite a discussion today. And so I want you to call your friends, call all of your loved ones, call those who are veterans, because this is a show that you must watch. We are also going to be doing a series, so we'll continue our conversations today because there's a lot more to share about what's happening with veterans. More specifically, Matt, I want to start out with you because you've talked with and worked with a number of incarcerated and homeless veterans. How drastic are we looking at things today?
Well, it's difficult because the number of homeless veterans in Los Angeles are going up instead of down. And with PTSD, for example, we have more people going into prisons, veterans. And that's due to drug abuse, alcoholism, and PTSD. So the numbers are not good, but we can't stop working on their behalf and trying to change their lives for them.
What actually motivated you to start working with incarcerated veterans and homeless veterans?
Well, I was at a loss. I was just getting out of the advertising business, believe it or not, where
Wow.
I was a creative director for a major agency. And I decided to get out of that and do something that meant something instead of selling toothpaste.
Oh, that's very noble. Well, I can tell you, incarcerated veterans and homeless veterans is a lot different from selling incarcerated toothpaste. I mean,
Oh yeah.
incarcerated toothpaste, you got that? No, you didn't get that.
I would like to share one story, and this has to do with homeless veterans.
Yes.
And has to do with, at one time I was coordinator for what they call the Homeless Veterans Reintegration Project, which is under the Department of Labor. And one day, a young man came walking in, or staggering in, and he had told me that he was just going through a seizure of, what do you call it, cocaine, crack, a crack seizure. And so he was going through that. He was sleeping in the street. He was alienated from his family. And he had really nothing to go to, nothing for him. And so he said, I don't care if I live or die. And I told him, I said, I care. And that's where it starts. You gotta care.
Absolutely.
And then the next is common sense. And he had the addiction, so we took him to the VA in Long Beach. And they addressed that, and in time he was over his addiction. He needed a place to stay. Took him to New Directions, and he had a place where there is for homeless
that's
veterans.
wonderful.
No cost. And while he was there, he learned how to operate the computer. We put a resume together and got on job sites, and we got him out there into the working world, and he got a job. And then we got him back in touch with his family, did that.
So that's reunification, to be sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so in time, I got a phone call from him. And he said, I want to invite you to my college graduation.
Wow.
And I said, that's full circle.
That certainly is. Thank you so much for sharing that story, Matt.
Well, anybody can do it.
Yeah.
It's just common sense.
Right. Well, we want to thank you. Well, you know, as I was talking to Joe earlier when we were in the green room about some of his experiences serving in Afghanistan and Iraq, share with the listeners and the viewers some of your challenges and what you found that veterans are really dealing with. What happened? And if you can share some of your experiences.
Sure. Yeah, one of the things that I was plagued with is when I was in the military, I did my due diligence as a soldier, and I kept trying to be a better soldier. And so I went to a lot of schools, and I went to took challenging positions that made me either more lethal on the battlefield or enabled me to be a better medic and save more lives. That said, when I transitioned out of the military, there wasn't any accreditation for that. You know, I would go to universities and say, hey, I have 5 years of post-secondary didactic training with practical exercise. And they're like, cool, we'll give you all of your physical fitness credits then. I'm like, that really doesn't help out. It's like 5.5 years. It's a master's degree, you know, and we're kind of missing out on that. So the ability to get, you know, accreditation would be really nice for what we do.
Okay. So from your experiences, what you feel is that the military offered you an opportunity to get educated in a special sort of area, and then you're not able to translate that area in the working world when you come from the service. Is this something that you think plagues a lot of veterans that happen? Let's just have a discussion about this, because I think, you know, I'm hearing more and more of this. So Dave, your experiences.
So, you know, unfortunately, when you talk about suicidal risk factors for veterans, homelessness, joblessness, relationship issues, a lot of those play into the suicide numbers. So, you know, if you can start removing some of those things and give folks educational credit, that may help them get jobs, better schooling, and some other things on the outside when they leave military service. It's sometimes a challenge for our military members, especially if they're dealing with any specific mental health issues, to assimilate back into the civilian world and assimilate into corporate America, for lack of a better term.
Which is really weird to me, because being in corporate now for a couple of years, the military skill set, the things that we learn that are translatable, personnel management, adapting to chaotic situations, constantly working at odd hours for whatever the mission is. Like that is something that we're really good at. It's hard to quantify that and list it on a resume in a way that will check the boxes for the HR companies, right? But in the interview process, the vast majority of veterans that I talk to, and now I'm coming from a special operations background, the vast majority of special operators have the ability in the interview process to say, oh yeah, you'd be great at a senior level or mid-level management, because we can do that. It's just getting to that first interview that's difficult. And there are plenty of nonprofits and other organizations that can help to facilitate those veterans. It's just getting the word out there that there are these organizations that need veterans, and the veterans who need to get in these organizations.
Yeah.
You know, the whole thing seems to me that there isn't something that, and I think this happens with incarcerated individuals as well, there's nothing to complete the continuum that I'm out of the military, I go into this, and then there's a step-by-step process. It's like, I'm out of the military, now you're on your own. It's like you've given service to your country, and you're just out there. And the things that many of them have experienced on the battlefield or in certain of these countries, they've seen so much that it gets their mindset in a different direction, that maybe they were medicating while they were over in battle or, behind enemy lines, so to speak, that they come back and there's nothing. I mean, I'm frustrated because I'm hearing the frustration. What are the answers? What do we need to be doing as the state of California? We have all these homeless veterans. What the heck should we be doing?
Okay.
I mean, we can talk about, I believe in talking about the issues, and the issues are here. Homelessness, incarceration, the fact that your skill set, skill levels that you've attained are not translatable. into the workaday world where you can have a decent living, provide for your family. You're talking about other issues that you come back from. What is there? We have the Veterans Administration that's supposed to help veterans. What are they doing their job?
They are.
Okay.
They are.
Okay, that's what I want to hear. Okay,
you
somebody's doing something.
You have 3 veterans here that will tell you that the VA is doing their job. The real challenge is, and it's not just up to the VA. It's a very multifaceted, complex problem that has a lot of different components to it. And the reality is that the VA can't do it alone. However, there are a number of grassroots, nonprofit, public agencies that are doing things for veterans. The problem is unfortunately demand sometimes exceeds supply, and that's what you really run into in a lot of these different issues. And these fine gentlemen can probably attest to some of those things. But the reality is the demand definitely exceeds capacity, and the VA has struggled for years to try to address a lot of these issues, the homeless issues, the suicide issues. Recently, the president signed, an executive order, to help speed things along in the efforts of suicide prevention within the Veteran Affairs. But it's really going to take, for lack of a better term, a village to help our veterans when they come back and help them assimilate. And I also think in the corporate world, and you can definitely jump in here, but I think in the corporate world there's definitely a misconception amongst corporate America about how veterans will fit into their organizations. Most folks who've never been in the military don't understand our culture, don't understand some of the subtle nuances. And he highlighted a lot of leadership skills and flexibility and the ability to adapt to austere conditions. People don't realize all those skills are very translatable to corporate America, but because that side of the house isn't familiar with how the military operates, it's just some foreign concept. So
what can be done? What can companies do?
Companies can. There's a push in corporate America that I've seen personally that there are corporations that want to reach out and learn more about what exactly military people can do, because they know that for time in perpetuity that we have always had great leaders come out of the military. We've had a couple presidents that work. The idea that military people can do what you need done, that's cool. And now corporate America is trying to figure out, okay, how do we bridge that gap? So there's organizations that I went through called the Honor Foundation, what really helped me out. There's Your Grateful Nation. These are organizations that are nonprofits that are designed for special operators to be able to translate our skill set into the language of corporate America so that corporate America understands what I can do. Because when I tell you, I led a patrol of Afghan National Army soldiers in combat at night, that doesn't mean anything on a resume. But when I translate that and I say that I've done cross-functional team management, cross-cultural team management. These are buzzwords in the corporate world that we just need, and it's great that I was blessed enough to get an opportunity to go to the Honor Foundation where I was taught this stuff. It was a mini MBA course. But these kinds of things should be open to people outside of special operations too.
How did you learn about the Honor Foundation? Where are they located? Or is this one foundation or they have several? How did you learn about it?
I turn over to my network. I believe that I make friends with the right kind of people, and then when they reach out and they say I have something for you, I trust in them.
Okay. So what would you advise somebody that's out there that may be a veteran that's listening to the show? Viewing this show, I should say.
Absolutely. There are organizations. The Honor Foundation is found online. They are nationwide.
Okay.
Your Grateful Nation for other special operators. That one's nationwide. They're mostly East Coast based. It's out there. There's an event down in San Diego called. It's the one Veteran Village does. It's Operation Stand Down, right?
Okay.
And so that is designed to take homeless veterans off the street. They put them into tents, get them the right kind of services, and then get them off the streets permanently. Okay. And these kind of organizations have a telephone book with all of the nonprofits that are in there. And literally, it's a telephone book because there's just so many. It's a multifaceted issue that there are so many people that can do just little bits of it.
So it seems like what I'm kind of hearing from you too is that people that are veterans who are coming out and who have certain skill sets that are common to the Army or a military particular, the Air Force or the Army, and it's branch. And so then they need to be able to translate what they do into language that fits into the corporate structure.
Sure.
That they understand this person is marketable, this person is employable,
Right.
hireable.
To be fair, though, when a service member exits the military, they do go when you come in the military, you go through basic training, boot camp, something
Right,
like that
right.
to transition you from a civilian
Right.
to a military person.
Right.
When you get done, they do the same thing, but it's way more abbreviated, right?
Okay.
It's like it's a 2-week course on like how to fill out a resume, how to find an
Okay.
application. Like
Okay.
that is when these nonprofits need to be brought into these service members that are getting ready to exit the service, right? And in order to do that, the government has to vet these nonprofits and make sure that they're actually legit.
Okay, that they're actually,
So
right.
if there is a list of these nonprofits, I guarantee you it's on backlog right now. But they should be vetting them and
Wow.
providing these
Wow.
to service members if they're not already.
Wow, that's true. So Matt, from your experiences of dealing with the incarcerated veteran, it's a little difficult because once you're incarcerated and you're trying to make it back into the workaday world, is that held against them because they served their country, but they did something maybe as a result of drugs, and now they're incarcerated? How do they make their way back?
Well, first of all, I went into 4 federal correctional institutions in California twice a month. And I worked with the veterans there. We created resumes for them. And then I came up with an idea, because every employment development department has what they call a vet rep. And so you contact that vet rep in where this prisoner is going to be released, and you send him a resume and tell him to start looking for him. And he does.
Okay.
And we've had people placed through these vet reps who are released from prison. And another good story is I had a young man from Nevada who wanted to work prep work in a restaurant. Well, nowadays he's a top chef.
Okay, that's great. I mean, so you got to start
Yeah.
at a lower level and worked himself up.
Yeah,
Okay.
and that came through a vet rep also.
Okay, so we do want you to know that there are vet reps that can help people who are incarcerated and who want to find a job and a way out.
Yeah.
So you need to contact your vet rep.
Yeah.
Okay. You've also talked about there are programs, nonprofit programs that you can look online that you can find that will help you redefine what you do that makes you marketable. Am I
Yep.
summing it up? Okay, Dave, what are you going to say? One of the answers that you can, because I'm a problem solver. You can tell.
Absolutely.
Okay, because we can talk about the problem, and I do have a question I want to ask you. But what do we do that, in your mind, how we can make a difference?
So-
collectively, we all.
So you know from our previous radio show, I just recently retired from law enforcement. I formed my own risk advisory firm. I'm very involved in the veteran community. So in Los Angeles, you have what's called the Veterans Collaborative. That is a promulgation of hundreds of both nonprofit and public organizations all working together to resolve different levels of issues. So some are working on homeless issues, some are working on substance abuse issues, some of them are working on reduction in suicide rates and things like that. Knowing that there's a shortfall within the corporate community regarding veteran culture, I've developed a veteran culture course for corporate companies, just to get them educated a little bit, so when they get a veteran, they don't have to put them in the corner, give them a chair, put them in the corner, because they don't know exactly how that person is going to fit into their organization. They should really stop looking at that. They should really start looking at, what skills that person really brings to the table and how they can help. To what Matt was saying, and in the VA's defense, the VA actually has a program called Veteran Justice Outreach, and they actually also do a lot of outreach to the federal prisons, jails, to help veterans get through their criminal cases and try to help them get back on track. So it's substance abuse counseling or mental health counseling or those type of things to get our veterans back into regular society.
Right,
but
right.
sometimes, if they have significant criminal issues, unfortunately the VA can't provide them housing. So sometimes there
wow,
are barriers
yeah.
to what the VA can do based on that service member's profile. But if
Okay.
you can help them resolve a lot of those issues,
Right.
then you start streamlining the process for them to get housing, for them to get counseling, for them to get a job. And that makes it a lot easier. Like I said, everybody levies a lot of, iron sights at the, for lack of a better term, at the VA, but it's really a community that really
Okay.
needs to solve this issue. So I'm glad we're having this conversation today.
I'm glad we're having a
because-
conversation too, because I think that you viewers need to be enlightened, and many people need to be enlightened about some of the issues, because I've been getting a lot of people coming to me about veterans. They're doing this. It's almost like little silos are growing up, and I'm thinking, when are we all going to bring this all together and work as one? Because, and the nonprofits are doing their thing, and there's a for-profit organization, but I want to applaud you all for being on the show and sharing these issues, because they are here and we've got to do something about them.
That's right.
My question too is, how many women among, the stats, do you know the percentages of women, that veterans that are having some of these issues? Because I don't want everybody to think it's all males.
No,
it
it's
isn't.
definitely
No,
so.
it's definitely,
One of the things when I was working with the homeless in San Diego is that in San Diego at least, the female veterans who were a year out of the service, if they had become homeless within that year, it's almost impossible to get them out. There's so many weird things that happen on the streets to women. It's a terrible thing. So getting right from Jump Street,
Oh, wow.
they can start putting these, especially the female military members, in contact with some of these organizations during their transition out of the military. It would really stem the flow of chronic homelessness among female veterans. At least that was my understanding when I was in San Diego.
Well, that was just the question I had, because sometimes, we start thinking male domination, here the military males, but there are a lot of females out there who are coming out and who are struggling too.
And just the way that they're homeless is different too, right? So in the Vietnam veterans, they're more like on the streets, kind of homeless, exactly what you think of. My generation, the post 9/11, these are the veterans that they're living in their cars.
Okay,
So it's a
they're not
whole
actually-
different
so-
thing.
well, that's interesting.
Yeah, you're not getting homeless
what do you think?
encampments.
Because is this a mindset of pre and a different generation? I mean, in terms of, well, see, I have two gentlemen. You were you retired
Yeah.
from the Air Force. My husband. That's why I'm loving this in a way, because in honor of my husband Douglas. I hope you're up there watching, but he probably is.
Yeah.
But he was in the Army and then went to the Air Force, and he served for 21 years. He was in Auschwitz.
Oh,
So he
really?
also, he was in 3 wars. And then retired and then went to work at a military base where he was working on the space shuttle. So he spent a total of 42 years in military.
Wow.
So, yes, and he died 4 years ago. He was almost 90 years old.
Wow.
So he gave back
Good
a
life.
lot, and was and that's why I'm very sensitive to veterans and to the dependents of veterans and wives and so forth. Because one of the things I learned of his experiences, it was a mindset in a sense. We could not go see any movies that were violent. We couldn't see, he liked to watch cartoons. Well, yeah. It was refreshing, and
Sure.
he could laugh.
Lighthearted.
And because
Yeah.
he'd seen some horrible things.
Exactly.
And both my children went into the military. My son, military, my daughter. My son was a military police officer, and my daughter went in the military, and she was a platoon leader so the National Guard. So it was like, wow, me? No, thank you. I don't think I would have made it. But it's laudable for all of you that you've given time and you're giving back. Now, I know that we don't have the answers, but basically, what would you suggest for someone if they're having difficulties out there and you're seeing this show? Because we're going to be bringing some more shows about this effort and some of the things that we can do, and I want you to write. But where would they get in touch with you, Dave?
So you can reach out to me at dave@secure-measures.com, or you can call me at 310-507-1493.
And we'll have that in the crawl space of the video after this is over. So, and how about you, my dear?
You can get in touch with me with my management company. It's Sarah K. Correll, Correll, @gmail.com.
See, he's got a female boss, okay? Yay! Yeah. For women entrepreneurs. Hooray, hooray. And so, Matt,
I am at KOLA19_38
and that will also be listed in the film today. And so I just want to thank you for listening, and remember, the Veteran Administration, and they are doing a great job. We're not here to, remember, these comments are our own, uniquely to share with you. You may disagree, you may not agree, but this is a conversation that we're having with all of you. And I really want to thank you and thank my guest, Matt. You're just wonderful.
Thank you
You
very
gotta come
much.
back. You gotta come back. Joe, you know you coming back, right? He's like, woo, woo, because we're gonna talk more about your era. And then Dave,
Thank you.
you're gonna be on radio, you're gonna be on
course.
TV, you're gonna be my co-host. We're gonna be getting this veterans thing lined up together.
Absolutely.
And so this is Dr. Barbara Young, and I want you to please, if you have comments, questions, you can get in touch with me at info@transformationforsuccess.com. Again, I want you to have a very blessed week, and remember, help somebody this week, and particularly help a veteran or help a dependent of a veteran. Remember, they served our country, and we embrace freedom in this country largely because of them. So thank you guys. Thank you, audience. And I want to thank you, audience. Give our audience a great hand for all of you out there. Oh, thank you so much for coming today and being in the show and being our guest. Love you very much. And this is Dr. Barbara Young signing off. And I'll see you next week when I got a show coming on. I got Dave. Okay. Thank you guys very much. Wonderful. Woo-hoo-hoo. We made it.